cope with tragedy, leaders of different parties working together to fix what's broken. The spirit that says no matter how bad a storm is, no matter how tough times may get, we always bounce back. We're all in this together. We rise or fall as one nation. That's what we believe, and that spirit has guided this country along its improbable journey for 2 centuries now. And it's carried us through the last 4 years. Remember, in 2008, we were in the middle of 2 wars and the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. Today, our businesses have created nearly 5.5 million new jobs. The American auto industry is back on top. Home values are on the rise. We're less dependent on foreign oil than any time in the last 20 years. Because the service and sacrifice of our men and women in uniform, the war in Iraq is over. The war in Afghanistan is winding down. Al-Qaeda is on the run. Osama bin Laden is dead. So we have made real progress, Iowa, these past 4 years. But we're here this evening because we know we've got more work to do. As long as there's a single American who wants a job and can't find one, our job is not done. As long as there are families working harder but falling behind, we've got more work to do. As long as there's a child anywhere in Iowa, anywhere in this country, who's languishing in poverty or barred from opportunity, our fight goes on. Our fight goes on because we know this country cannot succeed without a growing, thriving middle class and strong, sturdy ladders for everybody who's willing to work hard to get into the middle class. Our fight goes on because America's always done best when everybody has a fair shot. Everybody's doing their fair share. Everybody is playing by the same rules. That's what we believed in 2008. That's what we believe today, and that is why I'm running for a second term as president of the United States. Now, in Iowa, in 3 days, you have a choice to make. And some of you have made it, because we have early vote in Iowa. But for those of you who have not, it's not just a choice between 2 candidates or 2 parties, it's a choice between 2 different visions of America. It's a choice between going back to the top-down economics that crashed our economy, or embracing a future where we're building a strong and growing middle class. You know, as Americans, we honor the strivers, the dreamers, the small businessmen, women, the entrepreneurs, the risk takers. The free enterprise system, that's the greatest engine of prosperity the world's ever known. But we also know that our markets work best. The free enterprise system works best when everybody's participating. When we make sure that everybody's got a good education and everybody can learn new skills. When we support research into medical breakthroughs or clean energy technology. We think that America's stronger when everybody can count on affordable health care and Medicare and Social Security in their retirement. We think the markets work better when there are rules in place to protect our kids from toxic dumping, to protect consumers from being taken advantage of by unscrupulous credit card companies or mortgage lenders. We don't want government doing everything. We think that we can do most things ourselves, but there are times where we can come together, and we certainly don't want government getting involved in the wrong things. For example, we think we don't need politicians, especially mostly male politicians, to try to control healthcare choices that women are perfectly capable of. Now, for 8 years, we had a president who shared these beliefs. His name was Bill Clinton. His economic plan, like mine, asked the wealthiest Americans to pay a little bit more so we could reduce our deficit, invest in the skills of our people, invest in the ideas we needed to succeed in a new economy. And at the time, back in the 90s, the Republican Congress and a Senate candidate by the name of Mitt Romney said Bill Clinton's plan would hurt the economy and kill jobs. Sound familiar? Turns out his math back then was just as bad as it is now. Because by the end of President Clinton's second term, we created 23 million new jobs, incomes were up, poverty was down, our deficit became the biggest surplus in history. So Iowa, we know our ideas work. We've put them to the test. We also know that their ideas don't work because they've been tested also. In the 8 years before I came into office, we tried what they're selling. We tried giving big tax cuts to the wealthiest Americans. We tried giving insurance companies and oil companies and Wall Street free license to do whatever they pleased. Here's what we got: falling incomes, record deficits, slowest growth in jobs in half a century, and an economic crisis we're still cleaning up after. So we know what works, we know what doesn't. Now, Governor Romney, he's a very talented salesman. And in this campaign, he's been working overtime to try to repackage the old bad ideas that didn't work and try to sell them to you as new ideas. He's trying to say that they're change. But here's the thing, Iowa, we know what change looks like. And what he's selling is not change. Giving more power to the biggest banks, that's not change. Another $5 trillion tax cut that favors the wealthy, not change. Refusing to answer questions about the details of your policies until after the election, that's definitely not change. Politicians do that all the time. Ruling out compromise, pledging to rubber stamp the Tea Party agenda in Congress, that's not change. That's what we need to change. That's why I'm running for a second term. Changing the facts when they're inconvenient to your campaign, that is definitely not change. So what he's selling, we tried it, it didn't work, we're not going back. Those are the attitudes in Washington we need to change. And that raises something about the choice you have to make, Iowa. Well, a lot of choosing a president is about trust. You know, Iowa, I started my presidential journey right here in this state. So after 2 years of campaigning, and after 4 years as president, you know me by now. You may not agree with every decision I've made. You may have sometimes been frustrated at the pace of change. But you know that I say what I mean. And I mean what I say. You know what I believe. You know where I stand. When I said I'd end the war in Iraq, I ended the war in Iraq. When I said I'd cut taxes for middle-class families, I cut taxes for middle-class families. When I said I'd pass health care reform so nobody goes broke when they get sick, I passed health care reform so nobody goes broke when they get sick. When I said we'd end Don't Ask, Don't Tell, I ended Don't Ask, Don't Tell. When I said I'd invest in clean energy, we've doubled clean energy production in this country. When I said we'd go after bin Laden, we went after bin Laden. You know I tell the truth. And you know I'll fight for you and your families every single day as hard as I know how. That's what you know. So if there's a debate about real change, I know what change looks like because I fought for it and I delivered it and I've got the scars to prove it. And you guys have stood with me. And after all we've been through together, we can't give up on it now. Let me paint a vision of change for the next 4 years. This is going to be a country where every American has a shot at a good education. And government can't do it all. Parents have to parent, teachers have to teach, but don't tell me more teachers won't help this economy grow, because I know that great teachers are what we need in America and what we need more. Don't tell me that students who can't afford college should just borrow more money from their parents. That wasn't an option for me.